The slot machines were still running when Priya Anand walked into the Sahara Vista casino floor, 3 weeks after the world ended. Chandeliers blazing on backup generators nobody had thought to shut off. Jackpot bells looping into an endless mocking chorus of bright electronic cheer that had, over the course of 3 straight weeks, drawn in every stray for 6 miles, the way a lit window draws moths. That was the trap of Vegas, and it was the reason Priya had avoided the Strip entirely for the first 18 days of the outbreak, watching the glow of it from the overpass at night like a wound that refused to close. The lights never went dark here. Even now, even dead, the city was still selling its one product: glamour, noise, the promise that something good might happen if you just stayed 1 more hour. And the lights were a dinner bell the whole desert could hear from miles out. She'd come in anyway because she was out of water, and the rumor going around the tent camp 2 miles out was that the Sahara Vista's kitchen reserves were still sealed, still untouched. 3 walk-in coolers worth of bottled water and vacuum-packed food sitting behind a door nobody living had been brave enough to open. Priya had been a card dealer at that same casino for 11 years, before the world burned down. She knew the building better than she knew her own apartment. She figured that was worth the risk. She'd also heard the broadcast. Same as everyone with a working radio had heard it at some point over the last 3 weeks. A woman's calm, looping voice repeating coordinates for a place called Meridian Station, hundreds of miles east, and a call sign that never answered. The tent camp had split down the middle over it. Half convinced it was a real evacuation point worth walking to, half convinced it was a corpse of a broadcast, still playing on some automated system in a building where everyone who ever worked there was already dead. Priya hadn't picked a side yet, but she'd started keeping a full tank of gas in mind for the day she did. It nearly wasn't. The casino floor held 40, maybe 50 of them, packed shoulder to shoulder in a slow, swaying, restless crowd that had gathered in over the weeks, drawn by music and light and ambient warmth, feeding off each other's presence in a horrible communal stillness that never quite dispersed because none of them, in whatever was left of their ruined animal minds, had anywhere better to be. Some of them still wore the vacation clothes they died in: Hawaiian shirts, wedding party sashes. One man in a full tuxedo with a boutonniere, still miraculously pinned to a lapel, gone dark and stiff with old blood. They didn't notice her at first. The jackpot music covered her footsteps. 40 years of cumulative alcoholism and cataracts covered the rest. She made it halfway to the kitchen doors before her boot caught the edge of a fallen slot machine bucket, and 400 silver dollar tokens hit polished marble in a spilling, ringing avalanche, louder than every jackpot bell in the building combined. 50 heads turned at once in a single wet, rustling motion, like a flock of birds changing direction. Priya ran. She'd worked this floor for 11 years, and her feet remembered every twist of it, even now. Weaving a route through slot aisles too narrow for more than one body at a time, using the machine banks themselves as choke points, funneling the surge of bodies behind her into a bottleneck that cost them precious seconds, even as it cost her nearly everything she had left in her legs. The kitchen doors slammed behind her half a second before the crowd hit them, and she jammed a service cart through the handles, just as the first fists started punching through the door's round little window. Glass and blood and strobing casino light flashing across the tile floor in bursts of red and gold. She didn't stop moving. Through the prep kitchen, past hanging pans still coated in 3-week-old grease, into the walk-in freezer where she yanked the heavy door shut behind her and stood gasping in the dark and cold among racks of thawing, ruined meat, listening to the muffled thunder of 50 bodies hitting a service cart that groaned, but miraculously held. She counted to 200 before she moved again, out through the loading dock into the desert night. Lungs burning, legs shaking so hard, she had to lean against the door frame just to stay upright. Behind her, through the propped open loading door, the neon glow of the whole dying city washed pink and green and gold across sand that hadn't held a living crowd in weeks. The jackpot bells kept ringing, tinny and cheerful and endless, patient as a heartbeat, calling every last one of them home, over and over, to a jackpot that would never ever pay out. Priya didn't go back for the water. She found a maintenance panel around the side of the building instead, and after 20 minutes of fumbling in the dark, with a multi-tool and a memory of 11 years, watching electricians work this same building, she found the breaker feeding the casino floor's backup generator and killed it cold. The bells stopped. The lights died in one long cascading blackout across the strip, building by building, like a row of candles, pinched out one at a time. And for the first time in 3 weeks, the desert around Las Vegas went properly, mercifully dark. Dark enough, she hoped, that whatever was left wandering that casino floor might finally lose the only reason it had left to stay.